Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to open Ivy Day this year. Ivy Day has been a long tradition at Newburyport High School, as several graduating classes have continued this meaningful tradition. The sprig of ivy planted today represents the class of 2020's long-lasting presence at NHS. As our class sails off on our own journeys, we will use this day to commemorate the time we spent at this school. As said in the alma mater, "Thy green-ivied walls have sheltered classes who have brought thee fame." The transmission of leadership takes place with the passing of the trowel as the graduating seniors pass the throne of the school to the juniors who are now rising seniors. Congratulations to the class of 2020. Thank you.
Hi, I would like to introduce my fellow class officers. So I'm Juliana Martin, and I'm the senior class president. Jillian Stallard is our vice president. Noah Keller is our treasurer. Trevor Cody is our secretary. And Sadie Vandenberg and Christopher O'Donnell are our historians. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to both of our advisors, Ms. Kathleen Mitchko and Mr. Sean Blue. Without their hard work, all of this wouldn't have been possible, and I thank them so much for everything they have done for us through these hard times. Thank you.
So the Ivy Day speaker is chosen by teachers based on who embodies the Clipper values best. I'm going to be honest, I did just look up Clipper values on the school website. They are respect, kindness, innovation, perseverance, responsibility, and reflection. These all remind me of one particular peer and friend of mine, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I know most people would agree with me. This student runs around the school making friends with every other student and every teacher she meets just because of her infectious smile and ridiculously loud and happy and kind personality. This is unusually beneficial for her during sports fundraising when she sells to every single teacher she's ever spoken to before the rest of us even have time to gather our thoughts. She remembers everyone's names and birthdays and is literally always smiling. I was lucky enough to get to play 2 seasons of sports with her every year for the last 4 years. She was captain of the volleyball and softball team her senior year and was always a leader on the court and the field. She's enthusiastic about everything and one of the hardest workers I know. After every single game or practice, this girl will be talking to the coach, asking them what she can improve, even though she's already one of the best players on the team. And after every single loss, she'd remind us all to persevere and work to be better next time. She never complains and never makes excuses, always taking responsibility for herself, plus she does it in a good mood. She always tries to make everyone around her feel important and feel seen, and I think that's one of the biggest and most important ways you can show respect for someone. She really does stand out in a crowd, if only because she's always laughing and always making someone else laugh. If you haven't guessed it already, I'm talking about Julianne Heath, although you probably could have guessed it. So without further ado, I give you Julianne Heath, your Ivy Day speaker.
Good evening to the classes of 2020 and 2021. As this week is nothing we could have ever expected, our thoughts on this day are going to be very different than they would have been any other year. Before March, most of us were probably complaining about AP tests, waking up at 6 o'clock, and selling coupon cards for their sports. But now I think most of us probably wish that's how we were ending our year. Instead, we learned through Zoom and Google Classroom, which most of us have learned that we don't like. Thankfully, that's over now. To the juniors, good luck. I swear it'll be over soon. At least you don't have to write the dreaded JARP, so I guess you do benefit from this whole Zoom classes thing. But for us seniors, our last layer of Newburyport High School has been added and frosted because our time here has come to an end. We'll be moving on to the next chapter of our lives, going off to the colleges, training in the armed forces, or right into the jobs we've dreamed about for years. As excited as I am, I can't stop thinking about how much Newburyport has given me. The memories, relationships, lessons, and friends that I have gained are priceless. Throughout the years, I've been taught in a number of different methods of how to think, how to write properly, how to use equations that look like Greek writing, and most importantly, sing the different elements on the periodic table. Although these are important things to know, the lessons I'll be bringing with me when I graduate are how to read an apartment's contract, how to budget my money, how to create different culinary dishes, and not to shower when there's a lightning storm, because apparently that's dangerous. Through college, I know I'll eventually be put to the test to use these skills, but I don't mind waiting a couple more years. Considering that I'll be a baking and pastries major, my freshman and sophomore years will be composed of baking different types of culinary dishes. For those who have known me for quite some time, the only time I go out is when there's food involved, and that is one of my favorite things to talk about. So it's only fitting for me to write a speech about how high school is similar to a cake. So let's get started. Before we even walk through those double doors surrounded by bricks and white pillars, our teachers established a curriculum, kind of like a recipe. This was so we were on the right track to college and the real world. They figured out the requirements we needed to take in order to prepare us for college or the real world, but knowing the recipe is only the beginning. There's a lot more work involved. A baker's first steps is to always figure out the right dimensions to feed the proper amount of guests. Questions like how many layers will be added, will it look like a cylinder, or will the cake layers grow smaller as the cake grows higher? Our administration always has to figure out the maximum class size they can fit into this little school, and during auditorium days, students can be seen in different class sections or in the back wall. But more is always better, especially when it comes to cake. Of course, the flavor of the cake is very important because everyone prefers something different. The flavor could be the sport that you want to be a professional in, a subject you've learned about that you've fallen in love with, or a club or activity that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life. If you can't decide or between flavors, it's perfectly okay to go with different flavors in each layer. Once these components have been figured out, bakers use their skills to elevate simple ingredients like flour, sugar, and butter. The quality of these ingredients are so important because the product will only turn out as good as the ingredients used. Luckily, the teachers at Newburyport have been blessed with the cream of the crop. The order you add the ingredients are also very important because you can't add them into a mixer all at once and hope it comes out perfect. You have to introduce different items and ingredients at different times, just like teachers have to introduce different concepts and lessons in a certain order so we can understand it better. But we can't give the teachers all the credit considering that we're the ones that have been putting in countless hours to understand their one subject. We're the students that have mixed our batter to perfection to make sure that we elevate and make something more of the simple ingredients we used. After each cake layer has been added, it's obvious that we need to start assembling them on top of each other. Usually some type of dowel is inserted through the middle of the cake to ensure minimal movement during transportation or to ensure that it doesn't sag from one side to the other. For students, this dowel can be viewed as their core beliefs and will always keep them straight and tall. Is this belief based on respect, kindness, innovation, perseverance, responsibility, or reflection? Do these sound familiar to anyone? They should. These are our Clipper values that have been placed through the school and have hopefully been drilled in our heads over the past 4 years. But considering that there are a million other beliefs people may have, I'm not sure if we will remember all of them. My biggest belief is spreading love wherever I go, which everyone can do, even if you're not a baker or a teacher. Through both processes, teachers and bakers put a tremendous amount of love, effort, and probably tears into making us and their cakes as perfect as possible. Although perfection doesn't exist and our imperfections are what make us beautiful, if there's something particularly bad, there's always frosting to cover it up. For students, this could be last-minute edits to their JARPs, or begging Miss Taggart to let them do test corrections on the bonding test they got a 32 on. I know I did. Whatever it may be, the faculty of NHS has carefully built us up through the years and at the end have helped us polish our resume, grades, and for some, attitudes. So a huge thank you to all of them. To finish the cake, decorating is a necessity. Bakers can decorate with different colors, textures, frosting techniques, or toy replicas. This part is mostly up to the seniors, who are normally found decorating with corsages for prom and various senior week activities. But this year, we will instead have our yard signs with our names on it and the masks that we'll hold on to forever, in case this whole pandemic thing ever happens again. But two things that won't be different are the final pieces of advice and awards the faculty will hand out to mark and complete our years at NHS. As I look back at my high school years, I can't not think about my 5th grade self. I remember dreaming about leaving grade school, skipping high school, and just going straight to college to start a new chapter of my life. But now that I'm finally here, I can't believe what I was thinking. There are so many memories that I've made that I can't believe I wanted to skip. When they said high school would go fast, they didn't emphasize how fast it would go. In a few short months, we'll all hopefully be going to different states and countries, and the next time our class will be together will be at our reunions. At these reunions, we'll ask each other the most bizarre questions of who got married, who has kids, and has anyone become a billionaire. Even when we stop coming back to the high school, I wonder what the class of 2020 will be remembered for. We'll likely be remembered as the class that graduated in a pandemic, but there's more to this class than that. The class of 2020 has been through a lot. We came together to win Color Day, and we leaned on each other through tragedy. That's what I hope our legacy will be. The class that supported each other even through the toughest of times. So to the class of 2021, what are you going to leave behind? What is something you'll do next year that the other classes will look up to you for? NHS is now your house, so how will you run it? You'll be the first senior class to come back after a pandemic. So what steps are you going to take in order to make it as normal as possible? Becoming the leaders of the school will mean that the little freshmen entering this building will be looking up to you and hoping to be just like you one day. So be as much of a mentor to them as possible. Offer them guidance, or at least tell them the school's a circle so they can't get lost. So good luck to you all next year, and go crazy during senior week for the class of 2020. Speaking of the class of 2020, thank you for becoming my family through it all. I've been through 11 different school systems, and Newburyport has by far been the best. I've met so many amazing people in this town and created bonds I hope to never lose. Thank you to anyone who has helped me with homework, bought some type of fundraising item from me, played on the same team as me, or just made me laugh and smile with a simple hello in the hallways. I'll miss these moments every day. I hope to keep in touch with as many of you as I can, and if anyone ever needs me to bake them a birthday cake, a wedding cake, or a graduation cake, feel free to call me. Congratulations to the class of 2020.
We are now going to change the colors on the traditional trowel. This symbolizes our class starting to say goodbye to NHS. We will take off our class colors and replace it with the Rising Seniors colors.
On behalf of the entire junior class, I accept the leadership role being passed from the class of 2020 to the class of 2021. At a future date, we will place the red, white, and blue ribbons of our class banner onto the trowel. This symbolizes the class of 2021's role as the new leaders of Newburyport High School. Wherever the current seniors end up in the future, the class of 2021 wishes them the best of luck and a future filled with health, happiness, and success. Thank you.
Well, it's certainly been a year to remember. Under normal circumstances, I'd probably be up right now in front of a massive adoring audience telling you how certain I am of the future. We are the class of 2020 after all. We have the 2020 vision. A common saying of our class that to me conveyed a self-assured notion that we could see the path that lied ahead of us, and there was absolutely nothing to worry about. In the current climate, however, I feel like I have to adjust that. We find ourselves living with more day-to-day uncertainty than we've ever had to before. But I think that there's something to be said for uncertainty. We are the class of 2020, but more than that, we're clippers. As the old proverb goes, rough seas make for good sailors, and that's something I've really taken to heart. It is from the most unexpected and sometimes most uncomfortable events in our lives that we grow the most. Nobody could have predicted the end of this year, but I know each and every one of us has the ability to navigate the rough waters that may lie ahead and come out the other side stronger and more resilient. That is my new 2020 vision. To the rising seniors, I hope that you come away with the same lessons. No matter what comes your way, work hard, laugh when you can, and lead by example, because that's the Clipper way. We are all stronger together than we are alone. It takes a whole crew to sail a ship after all. And finally, a huge thank you to the teachers and staff who have made these last 4 years as fantastic as they were. Thank you to Ms. Mitchko and Mr. Blue for being the greatest class advisors that we could ever hope to have. And thank you to everyone for continuing to work hard to send us seniors off in the best way possible, given the circumstances. And that concludes Ivy Day. Thank you all for listening, and would you please join us for the Alma Mater?